Do you weigh and track your food when you're trying a new diet change or while you're intermittent fasting? Today's video is all about why I recommend tracking and weighing and measuring your food. We're going to talk about why we do it, how long I think you should do it for, and the best practices to use with some tricky things like uncooked pasta and raw meats and condiments in a jar, things like peanut butter. We're going to talk about the best strategies for you, and we're going to talk about why I recommend weighing and tracking your food to help you break a plateau. We've got a lot of great content to cover, so let's get into it. Breaking a plateau with weighing and tracking. We're going to discuss the best practices for weighing and tracking different consistencies of food like solids, liquids, uncooked meats, or even uncooked pastas. We're also going to be talking about how long and how often you should be tracking your intake and what you should look for in an optimal scale. People often overestimate how many calories they're burning, and they underestimate how much they're eating, even when they're practicing intermittent fasting. But we can monitor and be consistent with our food intake, so you know you can't out-exercise a bad diet. So often my clients track their food and think they're doing everything right, but they aren't seeing the progress that they want, or they find that they keep hitting a plateau. And what we find when we dig in is that the consumption or the tracking of what they're eating isn't actually accurate. It can sabotage the whole process or make you feel very defeated about your health journey. Tracking your food intake will recalibrate your idea of what an actual serving size truly is. It will help you get used to proper portion sizes and keep you honest with your tracking. This provides a more complete picture of your daily macronutrient consumption and is a great way to break a plateau because it's a more specific and scientific way to actually track what you're consuming. So how long should you track? The good news is you don't need to do this forever, but just about 3 to 4 weeks in the beginning or until you can consistently eyeball a single serving size of food and be pretty accurate with the amount. So a few things about finding the right scale for weighing. You don't need a fancy scale. You literally just need one that has a units function so you can go between milliliters or grams or milligrams, and you also need one that has a zero button or a tare function. The one thing that I can say is that the fancier the scale, oftentimes the more headaches, so keep it super simple. When you're measuring solids, you want to use a weight unit such as ounces, milligrams, or grams. And when you're measuring liquids, you want to use a volume unit of measure like teaspoons, tablespoons, or cups. So when you can, always try to go by weight because volume is so subjective. We know this intuitively. When we get a bag of chips and we open it, half of the bag is air. Well, there's a little disclaimer on the chips that says the product is sold by weight, not volume, and some settling might occur. The true weight of things like an actual serving size of peanut butter or an actual serving size of granola, it's just downright sad. As a peanut butter lover, I feel personally victimized by the amount of peanut butter that is considered a single serving size. All right, so a few tips for the easiest ways to measure. Let's take cereal, for example. Put the empty cereal bowl on the scale, zero it out or press the tare button, and then pour in the dry cereal until you get the right amount. Now, this is a great trick for things like peanut butter or condiments or anything that's in like a jar where you aren't easily able to pour out just a little bit at a time. You can put the whole item without the lid on the scale. So take that whole jar of peanut butter or nut butter without the lid and put it on the scale. And then zero the reading, so press that tare button. And then you simply just take some nut butter out a little bit at a time until the scale says that you're negative that desired amount. And a quick pro tip, if you're weighing meat, you should be weighing it pre-cooked for an accurate volume. Same thing with pasta. You should weigh and measure dry pasta instead of cooked because the pasta does expand and absorbs that water while you're cooking, which can throw all your weights and measurements off. Depending on the food and the serving size, if you're just using volume, this can vary greatly. And it's all about how much space is between the food. So a whole cup of strawberries is not the same as a cup of diced strawberries. The calories, carbohydrate content, and the sugars will vary widely. Imagine if I told you that you could have a cup of pretzels by volume. Well, that's about 13 whole pretzels, depending on the brand and the size. But if you broke them into smaller pieces, you could fit closer to 18 or more pretzels in that same 1 cup serving size. So here you can see a visual example of this. Both cups are measuring 1 cup based on volume. But if you actually weigh them, there's over a 50% difference in the actual serving size with that same volume. So if you're tracking your food intake, that's nearly another half serving that's being consumed, but it's not being counted or tracked. Over time, with repeated measuring errors, these small oversights can make a big difference in caloric intake in the long run. So we have to think about consumption as far as you don't see it and it doesn't really register in your measurements or in your tracking if you're using volume, but your body knows it from a calorie and a macro standpoint. So why is it so frustrating? People just don't do what they think they're doing, and it's holding them back. The food company claims and the sensationalized labeling and the serving size confusion doesn't help either. Information is power. So now you have another tool to help you be successful with intermittent fasting while you take your health into your own hands and, more importantly, finally break that plateau. So how often should you track and weigh precisely? I like to do this just a few times a year or even quarterly. Most importantly, I like to do it when I feel like I've hit a plateau or when I've gone away on vacation. Anytime I've been eating a lot of meals out where the serving sizes vary widely and the portions are huge or generous, it causes me to sort of lose the idea or warps the idea of what a proper serving size is. So anytime I feel like I can't pick out a proper serving size, it's a great time to recalibrate and start weighing things again for just a couple of weeks. Tracking gives you the information you need so you can just make smarter decisions for your health. And yes, it is tedious in the beginning, but only for a short while. So remember, our minds tend to create resistance or friction as we assimilate a new habit into our routines. So now it's your turn to take action. Consider if you would benefit from the use of a food scale for more accurate short-term tracking. Look at the scale options and models to see what best suits your needs. Remember, it doesn't have to be expensive or fancy. Commit to tracking for at least 1 week to start. And share your biggest food weighing and tracking takeaways with us. All right, so there you have it. Why I recommend you should try weighing and tracking your food if you're looking to break a plateau, particularly during any special diet or following intermittent fasting. And now you know how to weigh and track those tricky things like uncooked pasta, raw meat, and you have a couple scale tricks to use for like large jars like peanut butter, nut butter, condiments, things like that. So let me know in the comments below which food was most surprising when you actually started weighing and tracking it. And let me know if that pretzel analogy resonated with you. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my content, please give it a big thumbs up so it can spread to more people, and consider subscribing to help support my channel. If you know anyone that can benefit from this content, please share my videos with them. And if you're ready for more intermittent fasting content, check out this amazing video right here. Aww.